All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to now break down the Indianapolis Colts schedule. So we'll go over that, and I'll give you my early win-loss prediction. The win-loss game, as Rich Eisen and many other people call it. So the Colts last year, they just missed out on the playoffs, losing a tough game to the Texans in the final week of the regular season. Of course, Anthony Richardson was looking like a star, like he was becoming a star early on in the season. Then he ended up getting hurt. Gardner Minshew did do a nice job filling in for him when he was out. And the Colts, yeah, they just missed out on the playoffs, so they're looking to try to get back there. And this is their schedule right here. And I said yesterday that I think that the Texans and the Colts would split. So, and I think I had them winning the home game. So I had the Colts starting off 1-0 and beating the Texans. Now, again, the Texans could win that. Colts could win in Houston. But either way, I think there's going to be a split. But then they take on the Packers. And I think that's a tough game, on the road. But it is early on in the season, so it's not going to be freezing cold in Lambeau yet. But yeah, two young quarterbacks going at it. Jordan Love and Anthony Richardson. I think the Colts will drop that game, so I'll give them a loss there. Then the Bears, that could be an interesting game as well. I mean, listen, Anthony Richardson's going into his second year, but really didn't play a lot last year, so it's kind of like, it's still his rookie season, and then you got Caleb Williams on the other side, which is his actual rookie season. So, yeah, I mean that could be a sneaky good game in week 3 with these two young quarterbacks, these two offenses. I honestly forgot if I gave the Bears the win or not. But this is a game I think the Colts can win. So I'd give them the win here. I'd have to go back and look and see what I said for the Bears because that was so long ago. But I think this is a game the Colts can definitely win. The Steelers, I think that's also a game that the Colts can win as well. I definitely think they could win that game. They did beat the Steelers last year, but now it's going to be a little different because you got Russell Wilson now playing quarterback. It's not going to be Mitchell Trubisky. So, but, we'll see. I think that game is a game they can win as well. Now, with the Jaguars, I feel like they'll split with the Jaguars. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. And then the Titans. Yeah, the Titans. There's a lot of people that are not very high on the Titans, and I think they'll be better than they were last year. I like the pieces on offense, and you're hoping Will Levis takes a big step in year 2, and we'll get to them. We'll get to them on Friday. Tomorrow we'll do the Jaguars schedule, then we'll do the Titans schedule on Friday. But I think the Titans could steal a game from the Colts. So you know what? I'm gonna say that the Colts are gonna split and go 3-3 against the division. So week 7 now. You got the Dolphins. The Dolphins and the Texans back-to-back games. So you got two high-powered offenses. So those are tough games right there. I'm gonna say the Dolphins maybe get that. Colts take the loss there. Like I said, they'd split with the Texans. But then in Minnesota, I think they get back on track. Although that could be a tough game. Actually, the last time those two teams met, that was the Vikings had that historic comeback when they were down. I think what was it, 33-0, and they came back. But that was with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Now you got Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. So I think if the Colts went up 33-0, I don't know if the Vikings are coming back from that. But again, it's not going to happen. But I think that could be a close game. So, but I'll give the Colts the win and they get back on track there. Then against the Bills, that's a tough game. Then you got the Bills, the Jets, and the Lions. So that's a tough stretch there. I think that's tough. I think they could beat the Bills, but I don't know. I feel like the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be good. So I think they might lose to the Jets, and I think they might lose to the Lions too. But that could be an upset, as a hat has fallen from my shelf over here. But thankfully, it's not an avalanche. Just one hat fell, which is good. Because if you remember from, I don't even remember when it was, the earthquake that was like a month or two ago. Like this whole shelf that's over here just collapsed on me with all the hats. But yeah, one fell because I had to do some rearranging because I went to the Yankee Met game last night, so I had to take one of the hats that was off the shelf. So I had to move things around. So that's why that hat just fell. But anyways, getting off topic here. But yeah, so I think they could upset the Lions, but I'm gonna still say the Lions win. But then they get back on track. I think they win against the Patriots. They win against the Broncos. I said they would split with the Titans. Then they take on the Giants week 17. I think that, could be tough with the Giants defense, but I think the Colts, I would take the Colts right now. And then I said they'd split with the Jaguars. So I had them splitting with their divisional opponents, winning against the Patriots, the Broncos, the Vikings. I said they would lose to the Jets. Said win against the Bears. I'd probably lean towards a win against the Steelers. I think they could get. I think they could go 9-8 with the schedule. There are some tough parts in the schedule, but I think 9-8, and that's the same record they had last year. So I think they could definitely get that. That's doable. But the other thing too is you kind of worry about Anthony Richardson, and his play style. He said, like, even with the shoulder injury that he had, he still said he's not changing his game. He's going to continue to take off with it and be a bruiser and take the contact. So, you do worry about that because, now they did bring in Joe Flacco, and Flacco did a nice job with the Browns last year. And the Colts, I think, is a good situation to be in because you got some good young weapons there. Michael Pittman has a new deal. That's another wide receiver that got a new deal. Completely forgot about that because that was so long ago. And of course you have Jonathan Taylor coming out of the backfield. The defense, I think is an underrated unit. We'll see how it is this year. But yeah, I think the Colts are going to be a good team, and I think that they will hover around 500. Like I said, 8 or 9 wins. I think around there. But like I said, there are tough parts in the schedule. From week 7 to week 12, that stretch right there. The Dolphins, the Texans. The Vikings. That's an away game, could be tough, but they should be able to win that. And then you got the Bills, the Jets, the Lions. Yeah, that's a tough stretch right there. They get the Texans right off the bat in week 1. You're taking on Jordan Love and the Packers week 2. It's a bit of a tough schedule there, but I think 9 wins is definitely doable for them. And that's what they got last year. And I talked about the games that they could win. Some of the games I'm like, oh, I think this team will definitely win. Like they could upset the Dolphins, and lose to a team, and they could lose to the Vikings, And I said this yesterday with, I think with the Texans or one of the teams that I did recently. I think 9 wins is doable. However they get it, that's what I think. So we'll see. But, the AFC South, it's going to be a fun division to watch. And we still got 2 more teams left, but this division was kind of a laughing stock. It's going to be competitive. It is going to be competitive with all these teams. They got 4 young quarterbacks. I think they all got to prove something. I was going to say 3 out of the 4, but I think they all got to prove. I think they all have something to prove. C.J. Stroud going into his second year, I think he wants to go out there and show like, hey, last year. Well, I don't think anyone thinks it was a fluke, but you got the increase in expectations. higher expectations going into year 2. You want to show that, hey, we're for real. Which they are, but, he wants to go out there and show it. The Colts, Anthony Richardson, how does he bounce back from the shoulder injury last year? Is he the guy for the Colts moving forward? And it looked like, in the limited playing time, that could be the guy. Then you also got Trevor Lawrence. How are the Jaguars going to bounce back from that collapse that they had last season? And then you got Will Levis. The Titans, new head coach. They surrounded him with more weapons. Is he going to be able to respond and show that he's the guy, for the Titans? So we'll see. There's a lot of storylines, a lot of things to keep an eye on with this division here. But with the Colts, they fell a little bit short last year. Can they get the job done and maybe make the postseason? And I think, 9 wins. I think they could get there. But there is that tough stretch in the middle part of the season. So that could very well, determine what kind of season that they are going to have. So, but let me know what you guys think, though. How do you guys see the Colts performing in 2024? How do you see Anthony Richardson performing? So, before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we come back from our second break of the show, we'll talk about some comments made by Myles Garrett on Christian McCaffrey. So we will talk about that when we return from our second break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.